unique in this country in some respects for what we have to offer when people come. We're also leading on how to handle things like university decorum and these protests. And I look around what's happening at like Columbia. I look around what's happening at places like Columbia, and the inmates are allowed to run the asylum. It doesn't work that way. In the University of Florida, Florida State, all universities have been very strong in saying, you can say what you want, but you don't have the right to commandeer territory. You don't have the right to harass students or faculty or any of that. And if you do violate code of conduct, we're going to show you the door. You will be expelled. And that's what should be done in every part of this country. So we're going to continue to do that and make sure that we are upholding.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Friendship Pearson, and welcome to Friendship Blue. And thank one and all for praying for me and switching from Friendship Pearson to Friendship Blue. This was Ron DeSantis, Mr. Possibility, who has thrown his hat, his wherewithal behind Donald J. Trump. Would they make a great pair? I said, would they make a great pair between the governor of Texas and the governor from Florida? Will it be a shootout at the old K Corral as to be the VP? If I'm a betting man, I would say it will be between the governor of Texas and Ron DeSantis. Who would you like to see? Because they both have taken arguably courageous and beneficial stance in America on a whole smorgasbord of issues. And here we have Mr. Ron DeSantis saying, look, college students, did you not learn decorum? Why are the inmates running the asylum? If you even think that you're going to have a BLM Antifa moment in my hometown, well, baby, it ain't going on. At the end, I got a surprise for you because he said to commandeer territory. He said to commandeer territory. I want you to listen to it again. And look how he said it.
Unique in this country in some respects for what we have to offer when people come. We're also leading on how to handle things like university decorum and these protests. And I look around what's happening at like Columbia. I look around what's happening at places like Columbia, and the inmates are allowed to run the asylum. It doesn't work that way. In the University of Florida, Florida State, all universities have been very strong in saying, you can say what you want, but you don't have the right to commandeer territory. You don't have the right to harass students or
to commandeer territory. Let's put this in. Greg Abbott. This is the man that I think will and is a likely candidate on Trump's short list. Brother Greg Abbott. And he, in a sense, is saying when it comes down to the migrant issue. And I would say similar to what Ron is saying. Commandeering territory. So whether it's students or immigrants, I'm going to ship them out. Think about where I'm going with this. I just want you to see how things are being played out. Was this, is he speaking without speaking? Now let's look at the Hannity interview he had. Excuse me. Let's look at the Hannity interview that Mr. Sanders had.
Because the reason it's not happening in your state is because you have no moral ambiguity. You lay down the law. That's the end of that. You want to act like these idiots at Harvard, Yale, Columbia, FIT, NYU, UCLA, USC. Don't do it in Florida. It's not going to work out well for you.
Well, that's right, Sean. I mean, in a variety of ways, Florida's not California, not New York, on all host of issues, but particularly on how you handle these universities. And, you know, these students that think they can set up an encampment or take over buildings, they don't have a right to do that, and they will be held accountable in Florida. What I see in places like Columbia and Harvard and the California schools is the administrators, the presidents of these universities are just too weak to do anything about it. Maybe they agree with what's going on, but there's no consequences. And so when there's no consequences, you're going to continue to see.
I deliberately did not want to show the visual because it might fall under the area of violence. But look, the words that are being said. I want you to look at these pictures here. These are the college students over the past couple of months. And I believe between 35 to 40 colleges around the United States. What is the common denominator that they all have? What is the commonality? What is really being said here on another level? I'm going to tell you what I see. I see college kids who say they are protesting for a cause. I get that. But yet they have decided to encamp themselves. I said they have decided to encamp themselves. They're commandeering territory. Now, if I'm right, and I go with the logic and I go with what the press is saying in terms of what the politicians have said, that the George Soroses of the world and other folks, they have funded this thing to a certain degree. And they bought them tents. Don't they look like little miniature tent cities to you? I said, don't they look like little miniature tent cities to you? And the police and authorities allowing them to bring this stuff in. Well, you know they're going to reside. Ask yourself. You listen to the press conferences. I listen to the press conferences. They were allowed to bring all this in. You got to ask yourself why. I showed you guys a few days ago, the American politicians were saying that guns were found, all kind of weapons were found. They brought in garbage cans and cut them in half and used them for shields. All kind of stuff was brought in. They weren't checking IDs to see if they were students or not. Why? Look, you got to ask why. And then within hours or less than a day, they're fighting them with the same things that they allowed them to bring up in the demonstration. You see where I'm going with this? And they're in an encampment setting. They're commandeering territory. You know, in my world, maybe just in my world, you create a situation and then you bring a solution. You have agitation. You have it infiltrated. And then you do something that the average person just don't recognize. You kind of get them used to how they should be living, in the future. I think you see it now. Self-trap. Can you spell self-trap? You fighting for a cause, but yet you are placing yourself in an encampment. You're commandeering territory under your own free will because you have a cause, but yet just maybe, all this was created and then you were supplied everything you need because in the future, this is how they want you to live. And I don't think I'm not far off because I did a video a few weeks ago talking about Brother Ron, how he was saying, let's get all the homeless off the streets. Hello? Let's get all the homeless and every folks off the street. It don't look good for Florida. Let's build a encampment. Did he not say that? Camps. He said camps. I don't know what Brother Abbott is saying, but I think it's worth thinking through. Was this a conditioning process on another level? Because we didn't just have 1 or 2 colleges. We had 40 they reported. And look how they're living. They volunteered to do this. So now it's ingrained in their conscience to settle just like this in the future. They did it. They gathered. I've been saying since I had the channel Franchise Pearson that they get us used to things. And then we take it from there. They introduce things to us. And then we take it from there. Was this thing planned in that sense that I also said on Franchise Pearson, they ain't really care about the older people. They need the young. That's the future. They already know some of us are smart enough not to fall for the okie doke. But because the younger generation don't really know. I say they don't really know. They're young clay to be formed by the waymakers, by the social planners. That's railroad homeless, so that's different, but you know what I'm trying to get at. Look, it's what they're doing. Is it possible that if there's a crisis, kids are already used to 15-minute cities? And all this talk about commandeering, maybe, just maybe, is that you flip it. This is the future. So again, you got Greg Abbott with the illegals, sent them around the United States, getting them out of his state. He's a possible candidate. And you got Brother Ron, same thing. Who you think is going to be the VP? And what is the future of America in case something else pops off? In a few years or sooner, let's say this summer, the illegals get to popping off and we start having some more injustice. After all, I just came out with a movie less than a month ago called Civil War. Will this be the future? Because Ron DeSantis already said, like I said a few weeks ago, we got to get them off the streets and we got to get them in camps. I don't think I'm too far off. What I think is that we should think about where we're going. Because this looks like entrapment to me. This looks like a well-oiled plan to put you in a place where they always wanted you to be. But you didn't think it through enough. The agitators told you to go on out there, fight for a cause. allowed you to bring in some weapons, bring in your tents, bring in everything. But yet, brothers saying you ain't got no right to bring all this and commandeer a territory. But he's just like a small voice crying in the wind. Because you don't have a legion of governors saying and echoing what he's saying. I just want y'all to think. I'm not saying I'm right, not saying I'm wrong. I'm just looking at the progressive trend and thinking how the devil would think and how the New World Order planners would think. Because it's about control, baby. And these are great social planners. Don't ever underestimate how they are and who they are. And everybody who's involved in this situation to dethrone America, just because they talk a good game, it doesn't mean that they're not playing the black and the white. I'm Fred Shot Pierce. If you like the work, please subscribe, hit the bell. Think about it. The faculties of all these colleges had different strategies. The police department is saying, oh, we can't come on the property unless you call for us because it's private property. Come on now. When it's out of hand, do you think that law enforcement supersedes a private property? How do we restore order? We look at it, what's on the books first? Or do we just go restore it? That's the question. You probably heard the stories. I heard it out of the policeman's mouth in different states and cities. Oh, we can't come on the college property unless they call us. Man, come on. If there's a disturbance, you don't wait for a call, do you? You sworn to uphold the order. Somebody help me in the comments section. What do you think if you heard that? I understand our rights, understand everybody's rights. But what about the rights of the college students who just want to go to college? What about the parents who spend all this money? What about the community? We ain't talked about that. You think people can go back and forth within 2 or 3 blocks of these campuses? Could they get to the businesses in the neighborhood? Did the businesses suffer because of all this going down? I'm sure the food vendors made a lot of money, but everybody else, people scared to go in that area, probably within 2.5, 3 blocks of every college or these colleges. Am I right? Put it in there if you know a business person in these areas. Did they hurt? That's an economic hit. There's so many dysfunctional things that can happen in relation to this. And this could definitely well be the future. We got to think social planning. We got to think economics. If these kids are allegedly being conditioned for this, and the powers won this psychological battle, they very well could bring a round 2. Do you feel me? Do you feel me? I've studied international orders for over 40 years, and I'm telling you, it's called a gradualistic system. They don't show you the whole pie, they give you a slice at a time. And you be like, good. Rubbing your psychological tummy. We shall overcome. And as a black man, I know the game. Because I look at my race and the way the civil rights movement was ran. Look at us now. Look at us now. I'm not saying all of us, but a whole lot of damage was done to the black community in relation to social planners and these so-called leaders. They led us down the wrong path, and it still hurts the generations today. It don't mean it hasn't happened to other generations. I can just speak for my own more so because I am that color. Forget about the color and think about the social engineers and what they did. You're looking at social engineering, people. It's more than just a protest. In my humble opinion, this is social engineering. Put in the comment section what you think. Hopefully this video goes through If I'm suspended for a week, then I'll be on Rumble. I'll be on Rumble. On the French Shot Mike, on the Rumble. God bless.